The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Dom Genova interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Dom Genova.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of your No Nonsense Roundtable. Here every week, and each of the shows, as I like to say, are on no-nonsense-roundtable.com, and you can download them anytime that you want. And today, it is a tradition, and I am grateful to have this gentleman on the show, and everybody knows him. His name is Bob Duffy. Bob, thank you once again for coming on the show. He kicks off the first show of the year. He's done this since 2019.
Thank you. I am honored to be on the show every year at the new year, and always hopeful for even a better year in 26 than we had in 25.
Well, the thing is that having you on the show encourages other people to come on the show, because if he can come on the show, certainly I can come on the show. There's an expression I used to use when I was selling cars to dealers is, you tie a pork chop around your neck to get the dog to play with you. Maybe that's a little crude, but if you get Bob Duffy on your show, well, then it's a legitimate show, because people that don't know you, and there's not that many people that don't know you, I can tell people that. So I have a police officer on the show. I have a police not a sheriff. There's a sheriff. You were chief of police for the Rochester city of Rochester. Okay, different than a sheriff. And then you were the mayor of Rochester. And then you were lieutenant governor, and now you've gone on to this career, which has got to be very, very interesting, of being the president and CEO of the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce. Are you ever going to stop?
I have been very lucky. Obviously, I cannot hold a job down for very long. But Dom, I'll tell you what, I've been very lucky. I have worked around with and for great people throughout every one of those careers, and learned a lot. I've never looked back. I loved every one of them. People ask me, which one do you like the best? Mm-hmm. I've loved them all. I really have. And the chamber world has just been a world that is fascinating to me. As you know, New York State is not the easiest state to do business in, so it's a constant fight, but we rely on relationships. We work with both sides of the aisle, and as we've said in the past, I tend not to criticize anybody publicly ever. We work with everybody. I represent 1,300 people, 1,300 businesses in the region. We have to go to our federal leaders, our state leaders, our local leaders, elected officials, for issues that affect our businesses. And I've learned one thing, having worked for many elected officials in the past, if you criticize somebody publicly, they usually forget about 30 years later. So at a minimum. So, and I get asked all the time, Bob, you got to speak out on this, speak out on that. I have my opinions. I share those to people that need to hear those. But I just tend not to be, in that sea of negativity publicly.
Excuse me. I got a little bit of a cough today, but that begs the question. And I've said it on the show a couple of times. There's only two ways of getting something done. It's either cooperation or domination. I'm not going to make a comment, about Trump, or you like Trump, you don't like Trump, or whatever. But he's in a position now, over the year, we've found out that he has all three parts of the government, pretty much on his side, and he can do whatever he wants to do. Now, this is not to say he's doing anything right or wrong, but that's just the way things work. Okay. Back in the day with Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, it was a little bit different back then, and that era seems to be kind of lost and gone, and it's kind of amplified over this year, don't you think?
Oh, I agree. I go back to the point I made before. I cringe every time somebody in authority in New York State criticizes the president publicly or files a lawsuit for one reason. The president will not forget that. And so we rely on New York State getting aid from Washington.
Right.
And whether you like somebody or not, you're not going to win fighting and criticizing somebody publicly. You can disagree. And I would say get into a room and agree and disagree. But an elected official's role is not to serve their party. It's to serve the people that put them in office. And if they compromise that, by making their whatever statements they want to make for political purposes, but in many ways then disenfranchise those who put them in office for funds being cut or programs being cut, I think you have to take a look and rethink that strategy, whether you like somebody or not.
Well, I'll tell you a story because this lately it's been driving me crazy. But I'll tell you what the genesis of this is that when I first started out the show, I had Marc-Anthony on the show. Great guy. And I had a co-host. And the co-host is saying, now grant you, he's the co-host, right? And he's saying, Marc-Anthony, Rochester did themselves a disservice when they didn't elect you. That Louise Slaughter is a such and such and a such and such. And I got to tell you, and during the break, I was like, I got to sell cars to Republicans and Democrats. What are you doing to me? I can't. It is like, well, I have my opinion, my brands. I go, yes. But I have to sell cars to people that have different political views with me. And the thing that I've seen, this is where I'm going with this. The thing I've seen lately, because I've been getting a little involved with with the music business in Rochester and whatever. As a matter of fact, my new Facebook page or group is Rochester Music Mafia. So it's like the Bills Mafia, right? It's not a negative thing; it's a positive thing. And I see that a lot of performers, like, I gotta say what's right. It's like this Jimmy Kimmel thing. I gotta say what's right and whatever. Well, can you afford to lose a certain section of your audience because you feel compelled to make a political statement? Now, if you can do that, if you're Bruce Springsteen, you can do that. I mean, you got enough juice that's not going to make a difference. But if somebody's going to be asking me to give a donation or buy tickets or sponsor a show, and this fellow or gal is going trashing, people that that I don't want to offend, it has an effect. And I think a lot of people just don't understand that the dynamics of that. Like you said, when you say something negative to a politician, it takes 30 years for them to forget. Oh my God.
That's the minimum. But Dom, I feel about it this way. Going back to the last election, when actors or actresses tell us who to vote for or who to not vote for, I guess turnaround is fair play. Do we then tell them, hey, you shouldn't make any more movies because the last movie stunk? We don't like that. No, I mean, I think if people kind of stay in their lane and nobody really cares what a certain actor, performer thinks who we should vote for, we all have our own opinions. And just like if the president or somebody in Congress or the Senate said, hey, don't listen to this kind of music, I would just ignore it. But I think the world today is everybody looks for clicks and followers and jumps in and says things. And in the end, like I said before, when you are serving people, say in elected office, say in New York State, Rochester, or anywhere, and you are criticizing the person who holds the purse strings for your area in many ways, I would say you are doing a great disservice by criticizing that person publicly, as opposed to going to meet with he or she, express your opinions, here's what I think, and maybe get to yes on some issues. But that's not the way of the world today. And, if you, again, just like if you end up supporting an elected official, others don't like, they may choose not to support your business, what have you. And, one thing I have to do is be, quote unquote, Switzerland. I get along with both sides of the aisle. I get along with Democrats, Republicans. We respect them. We listen to them. Democrats are now in power in New York State, but we don't turn our back on those on the other side of the aisle. We meet with them, and they're all friends and colleagues. But it changes because in every election things could change in an instant. And I'll tell you what, people look at the donation list for elected officials and don't think for a minute if they are up for election and they win, they go back and look at every person that donated money to their opponent, and probably maybe not, if not 30 years, maybe they'll forget in about 25 years who donated to their opponent. And sometimes if you're in a business like we are, it's best to stay in our lane, do our business. I have very passionate views about criminal justice and that going on to state taxes, regulatory environment, those issues, energy. But we tend to just pick our spots and reinforce those with people that make decisions. They may agree or disagree, but at least what we're not doing is trying to embarrass them publicly.
Yeah. As you know, about this time last year, I floated an idea for something like the Kennedy Center, just something to bring all the groups together and have some celebration of Rochester, not only music, but performing arts and maybe culture and business and whatever. And I came across this attitude of a lot of people that was like, oh, we're not going to change this. We're not going to do this. As a matter of fact, I have a text. I think I just sent you a copy of it where the guy, well, if you want to get everybody together, it's not going to happen and everything. And I'm like, I'm looking at this. I'm like, hey, I was just trying to do something nice. If you're going to, if you're going to say, and I actually had some people say this, I know what you're trying to do and I don't like it. And I'm like, well, but you haven't read anything with it, and so I kind of see a little bit of what you have to deal with every day, and I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you keep your patience with it. So I've kind of pivoted away from things that are going to be too hot. At this point in my life and my age, if it's too high of a hill, I'm just not climbing it. We'll do something else.
That was interesting. It's almost like a part of the Rochester culture. On a similar vein, many, many years ago, we looked at a way, how can we honor people here with a George Eastman Award?
Oh, great.
Because
I like
Eastman
that.
started, George Eastman started our chamber, the United Way. You go through all these organizations that George Eastman started. So we had this idea, it's many years ago, it might have been my third year in this job, and we kind of brought organizations together, but in the end, everybody thought they should own it, and we just kind of dropped it, as opposed to, we're looking pretty credit for it.
It's called,
but it was just one of those things, very similar, that sometimes it's hard to get something off the ground, because often in Rochester, it's competition sometimes in the past has been much more prevalent than collaboration, which I think we've gotten a lot better. But that was something we've dealt with in the past.
Well, I agree, because I think sometimes people think it's a zero-sum game. One organization, well, we're not going to give up what we're doing. No, I'm saying just add it to this other thing, which would be let's say, like you have a music hall of fame. Well, how about having something as music and performing arts and what, let's get everything, well, I don't want to give up what I have. Okay. So I've pivoted, I do a little retail on me. Okay. So I've pivoted. So I've gone from, having the radio show on that other station, to having it on YSL, and I'm doing it commercial free now. And I'm going to send you something, because I just had a promotional piece made for No Nonsense in the atmosphere or the universe that I have. So I have 17,000 people in my subscribed to my emails. There's 17,000 people. That's a lot of people. I got 9,000 people that are followers, or actually 10,000 that are followers on YouTube, 5,800 on Facebook, and then I have my Rochester Music Mafia is up to 1,300 people. I'm trying to get that to 2,200 people, but because that would be a full house at the Kodak Hall or at the West Earth Theater. So I got these things that I'm trying to do now. A little bit outside the box, and then the show is without commercials. And then what I'm doing is using some of the time to honor a veteran. So if you know a good veteran, were you ever in the service?
I was not in the service. I have actually, my father was a World War II veteran.
Uh-huh.
I have several uncles were World War II veterans. One cousin, actually, should be almost an uncle, but it was a cousin, was not only a World War II veteran, but a Purple Heart recipient. But I was not. I grew up in a family that honored veterans. I've always had enormous respect, but personally, I was not a veteran.
Well, if you have anybody, I'll say this to anybody listening on the air too. What I'm doing every week is I'm featuring a veteran, and some of these stories are just absolutely incredible. The fella David Bast, he was one of the Marines at the Reagan White House, and he has stories of being with Ronald Reagan and that whole thing. I had another friend of mine. I had no idea he had top secret security clearance during the Cold War, and when Kennedy gave that speech that says "I am a Blinner." He says I was three rows back with the case that held the red phone. He goes so, and then
right.
Yeah, and then we just had a vet pass away this week. He's a very good friend of mine, Chuck Bricata. I'm sure you know Chuck, right? Chuck,
I think I may have met Chuck. I know his son Joe.
Oh yeah.
I just saw that. Just talk about music royalty in this community. Both Chuck and Joe. Joe's a great guy. I know Joe far better, and what a talented family.
Oh yeah, Chuck actually got to be like an older brother to me. He would come over, we'd have sausage on the sun deck with a bottle of wine and talk about about life and stuff like that. A very Italian thing, I think. But if you know anybody who's a vet who would be good for me to give a voice to, just suggest them. I'll say that to anybody that's listening right now, because these stories are amazing. The fella in the Battle of the Bulge and Chuck was a veteran. I was saying he during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He's in Germany. He says he's in the field and he's holding a rifle with no bullets. He goes, "What am I going to do?" These stories are great.
Oh, the stories you read. Even I look at from the D-Day invasion, these World War II stories, Vietnam stories, Afghanistan, Iraq. What these men and women go through, what they faced, just sheer courage, service, and without complaint. And we should always honor our veterans, and especially when they get out of the service, because what drives me crazy is they'll serve our country, and then whether it be healthcare cuts, other things, we owe them a debt for the rest of their lives for what they did, especially those who served in combat. And this country has to do a better job, because for all the things we waste money on in government, we should take care of our veterans. And there should not be homeless veterans. There should not be unemployed veterans.
I agree.
There should be veterans without mental health services they need. I mean, as a police officer, I was involved in a shooting incident as a sergeant, actually, in my police career. And you know what? I never had PTSD, but I lost my sense of humor for a few weeks after that. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine somebody in combat seeing people blown up next to them, losing friends, what they go through for the rest of their lives. And my point is, we owe them, and whatever the cost is, we should make sure we pay it and take care of them.
Well, and I think that's the key to what I'm trying to do is that it's very hard to disagree with the fact that the veterans, no matter what they've done, they served their country. And we owe them something, and their stories need to be told. I mean, there's people out there that have these incredibly interesting stories, and nobody's heard these. And if I can take these on the show and I can make a few minutes out of them, and then make them as a short or whatever, and then give them have that to give to their families, well, it's kind of a worthwhile thing. The other thing, doing a little commercial for me again. The other thing, I invented this town, and the town is called, I actually have a federal trademark on this, it's the town of Middle Finger Lake. Middle Finger Lake, where life is perfect but could always be better. And I had, do you remember Garrison Keillor, right? I mean, Lake Wobegon.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so I interviewed him last year, and he was playing here in the Finger Lakes, and I exchanged T-shirts with him and whatever. He got a little bit of a laugh out of it. I don't know if he really got into it or not. But I said, yeah. I said, I've always been a fan of yours, and I said I invented my own town. It's like Lake Wobegon, and and on the show we'll have commercials like that. And people that listen to the show, we have, Bob's Pretty Good Buick, because if you buy a Chevy, you just look cheap, and if you're buying a Cadillac, you're just putting on airs, and you shouldn't do that. So we're having fun. We're having fun. Now you in your retirement and me in my quasi-retirement or whatever, it is joyful to have something to do when you are our age. I mean, I see too many guys that are working for big companies or whatever, and they're still living in 1983. And it's good. It's good to be busy, isn't it? And even the stress isn't all that bad, right?
It's interesting. My father retired at 55. He they lived in Florida for a few years. He was just a very simple man. Worked at a place called Taylor Instrument Company on West Avenue, which is now a parking lot. It's bought by other companies. And he retired and did not like his job. When he left. I've loved my careers, and I've worked since I had a paper route in Rochester, shoveled driveways, you name it. We always worked. Yeah. Work is part of our life. And I like golf. I love my wife. I have a great family with grandkids. But I just, to me, I'm not ready to just sit down and, every day figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. I have a lot of interest. But I will say, if you love what you do, and my current career right now at the Chamber, I love the people I work with. I work with 30 great people every day. I love going to work. I love being around them. And I just think that when I get to a point where if I can't contribute or feel I'm doing nothing, I'll stop. But I love the technology changes. I love AI. I cannot imagine digging in and living in the past. Where I love that I embrace change. I am a risk taker by nature. Love change, try and keep up the technology. I might not be a whiz like an RIT grad, but I can figure it out pretty quickly. And I just, you stay on top of things, and to me, it's part of just enjoying life. And I see so many deaths nowadays. I think that, first of all, enjoy every single day, enjoy your family, enjoy what you do, live life, do what you want to do. I mean, I couldn't see myself just taking off and going to Florida for 6 months, a year, or 7 months. I don't mind the snow. I don't mind the cold. Some days you don't want to go out and drive in it. I love our seasons here, and my kids are here. I have grandkids here, so we're all close. We're all within a few minutes of each other, and so life is good.
Yeah, I developed a philosophy of life, and this is it. I know it's irrational, but this is it. I've convinced myself that I'm going to live forever. And I also know I am only going to be wrong on one day. So the odds are pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to be the guy that's going to live for eons or whatever. And if you live life like that, then you're not worried about, Billy Graham put it really well. I mean, in his older years, somebody interviewed him when he was very close to passing away. He says, "I'm not afraid of dying." He says, I think I'm going to be going to heaven. I believe in Jesus, whatever. He says, the process of dying is a different thing. He says, I'm not looking forward to the process of dying. And
you look at the health issues, and I feel for people that are younger than we are, that have suffered so much. And it's my mother, as I grew up, she always would say, money means nothing. Oh yeah, health is everything. Yeah, heard that time and time again. My mother lived to 93, my father to 90, so we've had pretty good longevity. I've never had surgery in my life, broken bones, sports, work, things like that. But you enjoy every day, and I look at people that don't have that opportunity. And we're not promised tomorrow. So, that's why on social media, I have to say this. I look at, on Twitter. Twitter is packed with people that is so much negativity. If you follow my Twitter page, I don't criticize anybody. I try to put positive stuff up, promote things. It probably drives people crazy because they want to jump on anything. Oh yeah. I get ask questions on Twitter that people I know could actually call me up if they are making statements about things. I just don't engage. on that.
Yeah.
I don't block people. I thought if you block somebody, you actually give them a feeling of that what they said is important or hit. And on Facebook, I check Facebook out. I don't like to post things about myself. But I also think a lot of people put things out there that maybe are promoting their lives so much. And I kind of wonder, are they as happy privately as they seem publicly?
Right.
And I just think if you have a great life, and you have a great family, I don't think you have to tell the world every day what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But as social media, I'm on a little bit.
Yep.
I check it out. I'm a news hound, as you can guess, and email. But I just kind of shake my head that there are people out there that every day their whole life is evolving around attacking something, whatever. And if you have, whether it's Trump derangement syndrome or Biden derangement syndrome, who cares? They don't care. I just think to have your life consumed with hating somebody, there's something wrong. And I think that, I think part of it too is a lot of great people choose not to go into elected office.
Right.
Because we do have some great leaders. And often we settle for far less than we deserve because people don't want to go through the garbage that comes with it. And that's too bad because nowadays it's probably worse today than it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. Right.
Because people have a voice now they didn't have before. I mean, the people with the tin foil on top of their head, didn't have a voice before. They it was like you just ignored them. The village idiots had no microphone. So, hey, we're going to do a little retail for the chamber, but before that, we're going to do more retail for me. How about that? So, in May, I wrote a book, and the book is "Don't Be Taken for a Ride." It'll be part of a series, Don't Be Taken, in different categories. But the first book is Don't Be Taken for a Ride, Know What Your Dealer Knows, and Drive Home Happy. So I worked for Chrysler for 17 years, Bob, and then I had my dealership for 26 years. I know stuff that you don't know. And what I'm doing, and what I'm doing now, I've had presentations at the Pittsford YMCA, the Pittsford Library, Avon Rotary, a couple of other ones. And what I'm doing is going around and having these lectures. It's so much fun, so much fun. If somebody has a nonprofit, I'll donate the books. Just give the books to the people that come. We have, sometimes 12 people, sometimes 30 people, whatever. And the thing that's really a lot of fun is the questions that get asked after it. I think when you give a presentation and somebody asks you questions for another half an hour or whatever, it's fun. And, I have a dealer to English dictionary. When a dealer says this, it really means that. What does all rebates apply mean? Some guy puts an ad on the paper and he says, you pay $299 is your payment on this Jeep Grand Cherokee, and in the small print is every other week. So I teach you these things. So we're making a lot of friends, and if anybody wants me to come talk, that's my part. So that's enough of Dom promotion. So how about some chamber promotion? What did you accomplish last year that you're really proud of, and what are you looking forward to this year?
Before I start that, Dom, I have to say this. I've said before in previous shows. My wife and I bought a car from your dealership from you a few years back. Loved the process, the salesperson, how it went. I've been very lucky from over the course of many, many years to have leased cars and bought cars from you, from Bob Johnson, from Garber, from Farnsworth. All I found them to be honorable, good people, and no BS. But I just remember very clearly in your dealership out near Avon with my wife, and I forgot the salesperson's name. They were great. And I think the no-nonsense stuff, you knew exactly where it was. So kudos to you when you were in business. And I can see why another successful dealership bought that business from you because it was very successful. Well, that said, the chamber.
Well, let me just comment on that just a little bit. So the whole essence of our deal was to collect customers rather than maximize the gross profit on each customer. So when you do that, you're creating an orchard where you can pick the apples every year rather than making a forest of firewood And that, God bless the people in Avon and Rochester. I mean, they responded to it. And it's like the little old us. We started in the building, had no water or power in it. I mean, last year before we sold the dealership, it sold $18 million worth of stuff, and it's all because we treated people right. It's like McDonald's. Does McDonald's have the best hamburger? No. But who sells more hamburgers than anybody else? McDonald's. So there you go.
I would say, I believe this: if I trust somebody, and I don't ever want deal. I mean, I don't ever want somebody to give me something they wouldn't give somebody else because who I am or what I do. I've always been very nuts about that. I want to pay a fair price for what I get, but be fair. I want to be able to trust the person that I'm doing business with. And if I have relationships with people that I trust them, I go back all the time. But in the past, I've had those that have gone a different direction. I would never go back. I just would not. And I think that's part of it is if you trust somebody and you have a history and they are, dealing in a very fair way, I think that's a great way about being in business. I have a daughter in real estate who is doing phenomenally well. But I've said when she started, it's don't ever do something for the money. Right. Walk away from the deal. If your client comes number one, and she is, I probably did not have to say that because she does that on her own anyway, but she has walked away from many deals because they were not good for her clients, as opposed to people that would just make the deal, take the money, and run. Right. And those are the people that I want to do business with in the future.
Right. I mean, God rest his soul. It was Bill Peterson who said once, and I thought of having this as our sales statement, but I kind of rejected it. He goes, "I buy my cars from Dom because at least I know I'm not getting screwed."
Yep. And it's true. No doubt that is true. And Bill Peterson, there's a person that just exuded integrity.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Bill Peterson told me it was snowing outside in July, I would look at the window because I would trust him. But I think that goes back to something I think is a great lesson, pardon me, from everybody, is in business and government and life, be trustworthy. And, it's better to lose a deal, but to do the right thing. And I just, the chamber, I'll just give you a quick rundown. I think we've had a pretty good year last year. We do a lot of things. I don't think there's any chamber in the country that does what we do. We certainly have about 38 people, a full service staffing, recruitment, placement business, full service background screening business, and an HR business that helps any small company without an HR office or person. Call Kathy Richmond. And if you're a member, you get a lot of service for absolutely free, like having your own HR person. And we do advocacy, and again, sometimes in New York State, it's a one-party rule right now. And in some cases, with some elected officials around our state, they are not fond of business. Business is good. Business is not bad. And we fight for our businesses and advocate for them. And we've had a pretty good track record last year. We don't announce our wins. I always think if you thump your chest and tell people what you did, we don't do that. We give credit to the people who help us get to that solution. The governor has been very good to us. Our local delegation has been very good to us. Our federal representatives have been very good to us. And we might not agree with everything, but I think in today's political environment, in the business enterprises, if we could bat 250 to 300 on decisions, even 250, it's a good year. Sometimes in the past, over 500. But one thing this year, the unemployment insurance debt, which I give great credit to Governor Hochul and to our delegation, and specifically Harry Brownson for our delegation, fought to pay that debt back. Only 2 states in the country did not pay it back after COVID. It was like $7 billion with a B. And every business had to pay the state, pay part of the interest. And one of our companies, one of our number one employer, not our number one employer, but probably one of our top 5 employers last year, paid $400,000 a year on this debt. So the governor and the legislature paid that debt off last year. Had they not done it last year with some of the federal cuts, it would have happened this year. So I always give the governor and Harry Brownson credit for pushing that. And every business in New York State, from mom and pop to the biggest companies across New York, they look at their balance sheets or P&L sheets, and they'll see what they saved, because they paid for the last, I think, 3 years, a pretty substantial amount of money based on employee count every single year. But that's one example. When it happened, we don't talk about our role so much. We thank them. But it's, this year, the governor will have her State of the State address in early January. That usually defines that in the budget, what's going to happen this year. And when we see the landscape, we have to pick what are those things that really help our businesses or may hurt them. And we go to work, and we go to Albany. We write, we have meetings back here, and whether you're a hospital, a nursing home, they all have challenges right now. We are a 24/7 operation. We just try and serve them. So I don't want to go on to tell you a million stories, but I think it gives you a sense of what we do. And we promote. We have these events. We have the Top 100 is the biggest business event of the year. Mm-hmm. We have a legislative breakfast in January coming up. We're going to honor Colleen Wegman. Oh, okay. And Julia Tedesco from FoodLink. And another honoree will be probably named later, but these are two women who have done a phenomenal job, especially in a challenging year for cuts and with food and food insecurity issues. But it's an exciting process, a great team to work with. I mentioned events. I work with Susan George, who I think, without question, is the best events leader I've ever come across in my life. And just a snapshot of some of the things that we do, but I get bored very easily. I'm sure you do as well. And you want things fresh, exciting, and change. And every year we push to get better and push to do different things and do a better job serving our members.
And what's coming up this year that's different than last year? You have events or programs, or what are you looking forward to this year? Let's put it that way.
One of the things we're looking at doing is a much better job supporting young professionals. I mean, there's going to be a turnover. So we have a whole new young professional group organization that we are supporting and trying to provide opportunities to them. Our business events, you'll see Athena. We look at our top female leaders. We are blessed with a cadre of terrific women who are leaders in this community. We honor them every year. And a series of other events throughout the year, small ones, big ones. We try and do small opportunities for networking with businesses, but probably, if not every month, every other month is a pretty big event. And Susan and her team do a great job. But it really is about connecting people. And one of the things we do is connect person A with person B. To me, we should always look locally for business opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I had somebody reach out to me, a friend of mine who I've worked with in the past. He is living in New York City in the metro area, and reached out with an opportunity from, I won't name it, but a very famous person who's on TV quite a bit, has a business. He's looking for a prototype to be built. Uh-huh. We are very heavy with engineers here. And so I gave him several of our chamber members, our companies. One is working right now. It may work out. It could be $1 billion business for them if it all works out down the road. But I think a lot of it is, I'll just say this, relationships. Oh, yeah. You have those, whether, go back to my first career at the police department, then the state and here, but if you treat people respectfully, they might not always like you or agree with you. But if you're respectful, you work with people, you maintain those relationships. And I just think those are so important to getting things done. And that's one of the foundations of what we do is utilize those. And also on the other end, people reach out to us for help, and we don't say no. We try and help them. So I think it's always a wise business decision never to cut the cord or blow up a relationship that you may disagree today, but maybe 5 years down the road, that could be something that is, extremely valuable for both sides.
Well, Ronald Reagan said, he says somebody that is 80% against you is 20% for you. You got to find that, because you're not going to agree on everything. I mean, I don't care what relationship it is. Your spouse, your kids, you're never going to agree on everything. And the thing is that, personally speaking, I think it's very important to to divorce yourself between the personal, the ad hominem, as we say, and the facts and what is. You can disagree with what somebody's opinion is, but don't get mad at the person for having that opinion. And Bob, we're just about out of time, and I really want to thank you ever so much for starting off the year with me every year. I mean, I think I don't know if it was the best show or not, but the most memorable one was when COVID, when I'm sitting near a cell tower in my Jeep, and we're talking about what's going to happen in the future, and is the world going to collapse and whatever. And that was the most interesting one. I don't know what year that was. I guess it might have been 2020, I think.
Yeah, 19 or 20. And Dom, I was in a parking lot, the corner of Monroe Avenue and Silver Street, in my car, not wearing a mask in my car, obviously. But you go back, you look at all the things we went through back then. But no, I always enjoy being on the show. I think you do a great job. I listen to you when I'm usually doing things. I'm in the car, I'm around. There's some great people on, but you always learn from the people that you have on the show.
Well, I appreciate it. To me, it's a journey. And, somebody said to me once, you have so many listeners. Don't you want more listeners? And I do. But this is a journey for me. I talked to Gene Cornish, who is everybody knows Gene. Okay, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and a guitar player for the Rascals, and he talks about his time with meeting George Harrison and all these other things and whatever. We talk every day. I mean, how would I know him? Jack Alaco called me the other day. He's got 11 Emmys. He's got so many Emmys they won't even. He doesn't have a shelf that will hold them. And then Garrison Keillor. So this is my journey. And if people want to come along with me, well, they can come along with me. But, it's people you want to know more about, and people you don't know, you should know.
I think the point I'll make that is so valuable about your show is we are blessed with an array of very talented people in this region who nobody knows about.
Right.
And you bring that out, and I think it's always fascinating to hear and learn something about somebody who you might not know, or they might not be in the media or public facing, but are fascinating people. And the stars that would be music, entertainment, business. I think Rochester has a great history and hopefully a great future. And I do believe your Kennedy Center concept is a good one.
Yeah, well, if we could get everybody together on that somehow or other, it would be great. But it's like herding cats, and I have to tell you, you've been through this, and I've had discussions with your former chief of staff, Mark Cohen, who's a great guy, and I talked to him the other day. I says, I had this idea, and I tried to do it, and whatever. He sort of he said to me, I told you so. It was going to be.
Well, that is, Mark, I think
it's going to be a higher mountain than you expect it to be, Dom, and he was right. So there you go.
But Dom, it's like the Rochester way.
Yeah.
It is. But you know what? You just kind of keep plugging along, and someday it's going to get done.
Yeah. Well, Bob, thanks again, and I appreciate your support, your friendship, and your listening. And hopefully, there's not going to be a time where we're in our cars again trying to sequester ourselves from another virus.
We hope, Bob. Listen, I best wishes to you and your family for a great New Year. Looking forward to it. If not before, I hope to be seeing you in 2027.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening. You can find our previous shows at nononsenseroundtable.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.